Assalamualaikum. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another session. Today we will be going over different questions, different things, important strategies for this paper one for mathematics. So I have a chat with me. What I would suggest is that if you have any question that you want me to explain, that you want me to solve with you, then please WhatsApp those to me. My number should be here in the description. Hold on, let me see if it is. Yeah, my WhatsApp number is in the description, so you can send those questions to me and I will inshallah solve them in here. I plan to continue this session for a while, to continue it for a couple of hours, and we will obviously review the important concepts. I will give you some problems to solve क्योंकि कल पेपर वन है, so you need to make sure कि अभी आप कैलकुलेटर साथ ना रखा हो. कैलकुलेटर की आदत भी बुरी होती है, so अभी के लिए don't keep it with you, and you need to have some scratch papers and something to write with. Of course, a pen and a paper would really help. अब पेपर वन जो है ना, उसमें आपने दो तीन चीज़ों का ख्याल ये रखना है कि सबसे पहले आपके पास जो स्टेप्स होते हैं वो सारे शो कराना ज़रूरी नहीं होता. लाइक यू डोंट रियली हैव टू शो ऑल द स्टेप्स, विच मीन्स दैट यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट इफ़ देयर इज समथिंग दैट यू कैन डू इन योर हेड एंड यू आर कॉन्फिडेंट विद दैट, गो अहेड, डू इट. इफ़ नॉट, पेपर कैन पे यूजली ब्लैंक पेपर्स होते हैं, उनके ऊपर आप रफ वर्किंग कर सकते हैं. बट द स्पेस दैट इज़ गिवन टू यू इन द क्वेश्चन पेपर इज़ प्रेशियस. It is important that you use it strategically, that you use it with utmost care. अब इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आपने कुछ भी नहीं लिखना या लिखते हुए डरना है या कुछ. जस्ट मेक श्योर कि जो भी आप लिख रहे हैं इट हैज़ टू बी रेलिवेंट, इट हैज़ टू बी मीनिंगफुल, और अपने उस स्पेस को इस तरह से यूज़ करना है कि फॉर एग्जांपल सबसे पहले तो आपने पेपर को जैसे ही देखना है, इफ़ यू हैव एनी स्पेस इन देयर, आपने वहाँ पर कॉलम्स बना लेने हैं. अगर आपके पास जितनी भी स्पेस है उस क्वेश्चन को करने के लिए, वहाँ पर आप ट्राई करो कि 3 कॉलम बना लो, 2 कॉलम बना. अगर किसी की हैंड राइटिंग बड़ी है 2 कॉलम बना लो. अस्सलाम वालेकुम रयान, अस्सलाम वालेकुम अली, अस्सलाम वालेकुम मूसा, अस्सलाम वालेकुम अहमद. या सो मेक अ कपल ऑफ कॉलम्स देयर. सो इस तरह से लाइन बना लेनी है. पहले यहाँ पे सॉल्व कर लिया, फिर यहाँ पे सॉल्व कर लिया, फिर यहाँ पे सॉल्व कर लिया. अब लेट सपोज आपने ये सॉल्व किया था, गलत हो गया, नो प्रॉब्लम, जस्ट स्ट्राइक इट राइट थ्रू. ऐसे लिख के एक लाइन लगानी है, सारा इस तरह से कलरफुल बनाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. जस्ट स्ट्राइक लाइन थ्रू इट एंड दैट इज़ गुड इनफ. एग्जामिनर को पता है कि हाँ बच्चे का ये पार्ट मैंने कंसिडर नहीं करना. इन फैक्ट फॉर 1 मार्क क्वेश्चन वी डोंट रियली नीड टू गिव वर्किंग. लेकिन मैं जब भी पेपर सॉल्व करता हूँ मैं वर्किंग फिर भी करता हूँ. उसकी वजह ये है कि अगर मैं खुद उस पेपर को जब बाद में रिव्यू करूँगा, देन आई विल ऑब्वियसली नीड टू नो कि क्या मैंने क्या सोचा था, व्हाट वाज माय थिंकिंग प्रोसेस, एंड इफ़ देयर इज सम हिंट, सम वर्किंग, सम नंबर्स देयर, तो मुझे कुछ अंदाज़ा हो जाएगा कि हाँ ये क्या हुआ. सेकेंडली, ऑल द क्वेश्चंस दैट टेल यू about some situation, some diagram कि अच्छा एक for example there is a guy traveling from south from along the river bank और वो नीचे को जा रहा है और फिर थोड़ी देर बाद वो वापस ऊपर को आ रहा है. Let's say there is a question like that. In those question you have to make sure कि आप साथ में एक छोटी सी sketch ज़रूर बना लें. हाँ बहुत ज़्यादा आर्ट का पेपर नहीं हो रहा है ये. Let's suppose the question is a guy travels along the river bank towards the south 3.25 miles. So that's one line, 3.25 miles. There you go. At a speed of 8 minutes per mile. Do you notice that? 8 minutes per mile. They did not say 8 miles per minute. 8 minutes per mile. तो ठीक है, 8 minute per mile. मैंने ये साथ में लिख लिया इसके. ये मेरे रफ नोट्स हैं. These notes will really help me out कि बात क्या हो रही है. मैंने information को extract करना है. The word problems, the biggest challenge that you have in them is that extracting the information. हम उस पूरी word problem को पढ़ते हैं और उसके बाद हमें लगता है कि ओह मुझे तो समझ ही नहीं आई, या ये जो कह रहा था इसमें तो बहुत ज़्यादा चीज़ें, इन्फॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड हो जाता है. सो इन्फॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड से बचने का यही तरीका है दैट वट एवर यू नीड, मेक श्योर कि आप उसके पॉइंटर्स साथ में लिखते जाएं. So that is for the word problems, and similarly for all the problems that have some diagrams, try to make those diagrams. Okay, Ryan is saying, I don't know if you're writing, but we can't see anything on the whiteboard. Hold on. Yeah, of course I'm writing. Hold on, let me see. What's the issue here? Okay, this should show the whiteboard now. Abdullah Huda, hold on. Abdullah, let me see if there is a message. I did not see it, sorry. Okay, so do you also have paper 1 tomorrow? And if there is a topic that you need help in, do let me know. हम उसको अभी रिव्यू कर लेते हैं. और तैयारी का तरीका यही है, go through some topical papers. In fact, I will share a link for all the topical worksheets that I have in case anybody needs to still go over some of them, ताकि अगर आपको कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो तो उसमें वो हेल्प हो जाए. आई एम रियली थैंकफुल टू सर Zenematics वाले who shared these with me, and they have really helped me out in making your exams. There you go. Okay. In fact, some students are saying they don't have the link. Sorry guys, just a minute. मैं वापस आपको ये सारा बताने पे आऊँगा, and it will be a really useful session inshallah. I'm just sharing the link with those students. Okay, so I've shared the link. Now let's get started. Yeah, finals है, CIEs and topics तो वही है, maths तो वही है. Okay, so this is paper 1, right? So we will first start with important strategies that you need to know, और मैं उसके लिए आपको I'll go through the syllabus and give you some questions जो कि आपको उसमें आने चाहिए. So let's get started. Notebook, paper सबके पास होना चाहिए, pen सबके पास होना चाहिए. Make sure that you have that, okay? रफ़ी अली पानी ला देना मुझे. थैंक यू. एक और ला दो. Alright, thank you. Okay guys, let's get started. So first paper, first topic is numbers. Numbers में मुझे सबसे पहले ये बताएं, आप लोगों को numbers का फ़र्क पता होना चाहिए. आपको पता होना चाहिए कि integer क्या होता है. So tell me, is 0 an integer or not? So 0 is an integer. Positive numbers, नेगेटिव नंबर्स, दे आर ऑल पार्ट ऑफ इंटीजर्स, लेकिन उनमें डेसिमल वैल्यूज़ नहीं होती, लाइक पॉइंट्स में नहीं जाता. इट हैज़ टू बी अ होल नंबर, बट नेगेटिव, पॉजिटिव एंड ज़ीरो, ऑल थ्री ऑफ देम, थ्री कैटेगरीज, ये हमारे पास इंटीजर्स में आ जाता है. नेचुरल नंबर्स भी होल नंबर्स होते हैं, उनके अंदर ये नहीं होता है. और ओ लेवल्स में वी अज्यूम दैट नेचुरल नंबर्स आर द वंस जिनमें 1 2 3 4 होता है, जीरो नहीं होता, और वो पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव उसमें नहीं होता, इट्स अनसाइंड 1 2 3 4. देयर यू गो. अब आ जाते हैं प्राइम नंबर. अच्छा, एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा, कैन यू थिंक ऑफ अ स्क्वायर नंबर दैट्स ऑल्सो अ प्राइम नंबर? Can you think of a square number that is also a prime number? Well, if you can think of it, then definitely there is something wrong with the way you calculate it, because a prime number is one that is only possible by multiplying the number with 1. तो अगर कोई और नंबर स्क्वायर करके ये नंबर आ रहा है तो प्राइम नहीं हो सकता. Alright, so that's अस्सलाम वालेकुम हसन. Should we do password right now for revision or just go over formulas? I would suggest एक पेपर कर लें अगर आपके पास अभी टाइम है, या आप अभी जो मैं क्वेश्चंस करवा रहा हूँ इनको देख लो अपने. अगर उसके बाद भी वक्त आपके पास बचता है and you want to review something, then review the example candidate response. Try to see कि एग्ज़ाम कैसे बच्चे करते हैं और उसमें मुझे क्या बातें नहीं करनी होती. रोहेल अस्सलाम वालेकुम. ओके, वाओ, ऑलराइट, वालेकुम अस्सलाम. Walaikum Assalam Hassan, Walaikum Assalam Musa. Alright, so next thing that I want to ask you is 1 a prime number or not? So 1 is not a prime number. A prime number is anything with 2 factors, only 2 factors. So 1 prime number नहीं होता. अच्छा, next question. What is the cube of 6? So the cube numbers you need to know for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that is 1, 2 का cube 8, 3 का cube 27, 4 का cube 64, 5 का cube 125, 8 का cube 6 का cube 216. Alright, Assalamu alaikum Deena, Emil, Noor, Assalamu alaikum all of you, and yes, your answers are right. I don't really have any notes right now, but hopefully by the end of it हमारे पास काफ़ी notes बन जाएंगे. Similarly, square numbers. Square numbers मुझे ये बताएं, what is 12 square? So you need to know the square numbers all the way till, मैं तो कहता हूँ 15 तक एटलीस्ट होने चाहिए, और अगर वो भी नहीं करते तो 12 तक तो एटलीस्ट होने चाहिए. Rohel, as much as you would like me to do it, I wouldn't, and I don't think you'll be able to afford me. Okay. All right. So 12 squared or अच्छा मजे की बात ये कि I currently accidentally got a paper for another school where I don't even teach. Yeah. Assalamualaikum Noor. Yep. Hello to India from here. Yeah. All right. So before you start GoFundMe, Rohel, please pay attention. All right. So square numbers. Square numbers we need to know till 12 at least. So let us start करते हैं. 12 square is 144. 13 square is 11 square is 121. 10 square is 100. उसके नीचे तो सबको आते ही होते हैं. 9 square is 81. 8 square is 64. 7 square is 49. So अब इसको यूज़ कहाँ करना है? For example, एग्जाम में आपको कहता है that find the square root of 12100. How do you find the square root of this? Okay, I don't know what game you're playing, Noor, but either side of the border you're on, it's perfectly fine. Okay, maths is a subject without border. Okay, so 12100, how do you take the square root of that? Now, what you have to understand is that you take the square root of this one and this one separately. Okay? And 121 is the square root of that, you know, it's 11, so you just write 11. And then zeros को square root किस तरह से करते हैं? You half the number. If you have 6 zeros, you will write 3. If you have 2 zeros, you'll write 1. So I have 2 zeros, so there you go. My square root is 110. Okay, all right. I don't know how to respond to all of that. Pay attention, guys. All right, so we have 110 as the square root. Similarly, if they asked us, okay, what is the cube root of 216,000 or 216 million? Let's make it a little more challenging. All right, so how do we do this? So what you have to understand is, Assalamualaikum Deena. Guys, pay attention. Oh, I remember now. I'm so sorry. Okay, so 216 million. How do you find the square root of that? A cube root of that. Now for that you have to remember that in square roots you used to half the numbers, right, of zeros. Here you will divide them by 3 because this number 3 is there. Remember in square root you have 2 here, which is obviously not written because it's square root, we consider it as that. So now what we'll do is 216, what's the cube root of that? That is 6. Okay, and the numbers, there's 6 zeros here, so we'll divide it by 3. So I am going to write 6 divided by 3, 2, so 2 zeros. So 600 is the cube root of 216 million. So it's a pretty straightforward question. Now I'm going to move on to rational numbers. Now, what are rational numbers? Rational numbers are the ones that, pay attention, rational numbers are the ones that can be shown as a fraction. They don't have to be a fraction. They can be shown as a fraction, which means कि 600 right now that you are seeing, that is a rational number because you can make a fraction out of it. Like 600 over 1, there you go. You can make a fraction out of it. In fact, 600 over 1 is a rational number, natural number, whole number, all of that. Anyways, if you have irrational numbers, then how do you do it? Now, what you have to consider for irrational numbers is that square root of prime numbers is definitely irrational. Now, that does not mean that square root of any number that is not prime is not irrational. ये मतलब नहीं है इसका. But square root of prime is definitely rational. ये मतलब है इसका. ठीक है? The square root of prime numbers is definitely irrational. I will get to mensuration and other related topics in a while. We are going through the syllabus wise चल रहा हूँ मैं. Alright, so square root of prime number is definitely that. Now, here's the thing. How do you know if a square root of any number is prime is irrational? Then what you have to consider is that if you take any number, like for example वो आपसे कहता है कि square root of 72, is it, sorry, what is it doing? Yeah, if the question says square, something's wrong with this, I don't know. They're saying square, what is the square root of 72 and is it irrational? Let's suppose they do that. So what you do is you basically do prime factorization. So 72 is 8 times 9, which is 2 cubed multiplied by 3 squared. Okay, so now what you have to consider is, can you divide the power by 2? Can you divide the inner powers by 2? If you can, then it is not an irrational number. If you cannot, it's an irrational number. So right now if you notice 2 power 3 है, तो 3 divided by 2 तो नहीं हो सकता ना, like it's not like a whole number. So इसका मतलब है ये irrational होगा. This whole number, this number is irrational. Okay, so that's interesting. Now if they gave us square root of 288, okay, and we don't know what the square root of 288 is, and the question is not saying that find the square root of 288, it's just saying that find the tell me if it is rational or irrational. So for that what I'll consider is that this is what is 288? 288 is 2 times 144. 144 is 2 power 4 times 3 power what, 12 squared. 12 squared क्या होता है? 12 is, yeah, 3 power 4 I think. No, wait a minute. 144 is 12 squared, 12 is 3. So इसमें 12 squared लिख देता हूँ. Now 12 I know is 3 times 4, which is 3 times 2 squared. So ये बन जाएगा 3 squared times 2 power 4, which makes it, now we have found it, 2 power 5 times 3 power 2. Now again, can I divide the powers by 2? If I can, then it is a rational number. I can't, it's an irrational number. So that's another shortcut for figuring out if you have this number. Yeah, I find it difficult to do simple problems in my head sometimes. Yep. All right, moving on. Here is an interesting question. And this is from last year's paper. And this makes use of the definition of what LCM is and what HCF is. So here's the question. So it says that there are two positive integers greater than 25. Okay, so there's two numbers. Let me call them A and B. So these numbers are greater than 25. All right. Now they're saying their lowest common multiple is 216. Their highest common factor is 18. Find the two integers. So that's what they're asking us to do. Now what you have to know is that this is an integer. All right. And then you also know what the factors are. So let me break it down. I know that LCM is 216. 216 is 6 squared. So that is going to be 2 times 3 whole squared. So that's 2 squared times 3 squared. Okay. So that is what this is going to be. All right. And HCF is 18, which is 2 times 9, which is 2 times 3 squared. Yeah. And this one's going to be 216 is 3 cubed. Yep, it is 6 cubed, so it is 2 cubed times 3 cubed. Okay, so there you have it. Now let's see. Our idea of what LCM is that LCM has highest power of all numbers. Okay, or all factors. And 2 into 3 squared, lowest power of common numbers. That's HCF. So pay attention and remember this. LCM is the highest power of all numbers and HCF is lowest power of common numbers. Now what is that telling me? That is telling me that जो दो numbers हैं ना, they must have 2 and 3 in them. जो भी दो नंबर है, A के अंदर 2 times 3 होना चाहिए, B के अंदर भी 2 times 3 होना चाहिए. ठीक है. अब 2 की पावर क्या होगी? 2 की मैक्सिमम पावर 3 हो सकती है, 2 की मिनिमम पावर 1 होगी. ठीक है. मिनिमम पावर 1, मैक्सिमम पावर 3. सो एक को हम मिनिमम पावर 1 दे देते हैं, दूसरे को मैक्सिमम पावर 3 दे देते हैं. Similarly, for 3 it's also going to be the same. Lowest power of 3 should be 2 and the highest power of 3 should be 3. Hold on, I'm getting a call, just a minute. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so where were we? We were saying that HCF has the lowest power of common numbers and LCM has the highest power of all numbers. Now here's the thing. हमारे पास टू और थ्री दोनों में होना ज़रूरी क्यों है? बिकॉज दे आर कॉमन नंबर्स. ठीक है. दूसरी बात, सेकेंड थिंग, द लोएस्ट पावर इज़ वन, द हाइस्ट पावर इज़ थ्री. तो हमने एक नंबर को लोएस्ट पावर दे दी, दूसरे को हाइस्ट पावर दे दी. सिमिलरली द लोएस्ट पावर ऑन द अदर साइड, थ्री की लोएस्ट पावर है टू और हाईएस्ट पावर है थ्री. तो हम एक काम करते हैं, हम एक नंबर को हाईएस्ट पावर दे देते हैं और दूसरे नंबर को लोएस्ट पावर दे देते हैं. एंड देयर यू गो, वी हैव डन इट. सो हमारे पास ये नंबर्स आएंगे 2 times 27 विच इज़ 54 और ये नंबर आएंगे 8 times 9 विच इज़ 72. एंड देयर यू गो, वी हैव डन इट. ऑलराइट, सो दैट इज़ हाउ वी फिगर दिस आउट. एनी क्वेश्चन सो फॉर? Alright, so moving on, and this was how do you solve questions involving HCF, LCM और दो से ज़्यादा नंबर्स भी हो सकते हैं. और उसमें भी I'll see अगर हमारे पास ऐसी प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं, we will solve some problems at the end. उसमें हम उसको देख लेंगे. We have talked about square roots, but we haven't talked about how to solve square roots. So square roots निकालने के लिए अगर आपके पास कोई ऐसा नंबर आ जाता है जिसका कोई स्क्वायर रूट आपको ज़ुबानी नहीं आता है, then what do you do? For example, हमें वो कहता है कि फाइंड द स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 860, सॉरी होल्ड ऑन, यप, वो हमसे कहता है कि फाइंड द स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 256. Now you do not, I don't know what's happening here. You do not know for some reason this is supposed to be 256. Now let's suppose you do not remember the square root of 256 and you have to figure it out. Now what do? You basically do the ladder method. 256, you do the 2 times 1 and then times 2 is 4, remaining is 1, so 2 8s are 16. Do it again, 2 6s are 12, 2 4s are 8, do it again, 2, and this I already know, this is 64. 64 का square root तो मुझे आता है ना, तो I'll stop here. I'll write it this as 2 squared times 64. जब तक आपको कोई square root जिसका पता है वहाँ तक नहीं पहुँचते तब तक आप नहीं करना. If you get to a number that you still don't know the square root of, continue it. Ultimately क्या होगा, 1 तक आ जाएगा, ठीक है, 1 पे रोक देंगे. Alright, now this makes it, आपने पावर हाफ करनी होती है स्क्वायर रूट में. I told you, whatever the number outside, you divide it by that. So this is going to be 2 power, वहाँ पे 2 power 2 था, तो 2 divided by 2 is 1, so 2 times, what is the square root of 64? 8. So this is going to be 16, and that is my answer. Now this was a number that I did not remember the square root for, और हमें उससे भी वो आ गया. अच्छा, उसके बाद अगली बात आ जाती है टेम्परेचर चेंजेस वगैरह के ऊपर क्वेश्चन आता है. टेम्परेचर चेंजेस वगैरह में आपने ये चीज़ ध्यान में रखनी है कि जब भी वो आपसे डिफरेंस मांगता है, जब भी आपसे चेंज मांगता है, इट्स ऑलवेज subtraction, right? Let's suppose today the temperature was 48, I think. So today the temperature, oh god, बहुत ज़्यादा temperature था, so 48 degrees Celsius है. And let's suppose in just 6 months back the temperature was 27, or minus. Let's suppose in some place in Antarctica today the temperature was minus 12, and the examiner says that what is the difference in temperature? So then what you do is you find the difference, as the name suggests. So difference, and you have to subtract them. Now the common mistake here is कि 48 minus 12 कर देंगे और आप आंसर दे देंगे 36. But that's not the case. This is 48 minus 12. So take care of that minus, and that gives you 60. So the difference between these two temperatures is 60 degrees Celsius. And these are called directed numbers, and it's important to understand them. अच्छा, some students are saying कि पहले हम vectors वगैरह कर लें और उसके बात ही कर लेते हैं, सॉरी, इनके ऊपर. ऑलराइट, भाई कोई काम की बात भी की है आपने कि अभी तक नहीं की? रोहिल, व्हाट्स विद यू? बी सीरियस फॉर एटलीस्ट अ डे भाई. GSN, I am going to Harvard inshallah. I'm just waiting for my visa. वो अपॉइंटमेंट बहुत लेट मिल रही है आजकल. Noor is saying, will you teach us after the summer? Summer के बाद ही पता लगेगा. We'll see. All humans are irrational. ये तो आपस में बातें करते जा रहे हो भाई, मेरे काम की कोई बात है? I'm so sorry if I've lost your respect. Thank you, Abdullah. Thank you for the, yeah. I have no यार तुम लोग क्या चीज़ हो. Anyways, coming back to, या कमिंग बैक टू द टॉपिक. क्या था हमारे पास? अच्छा, आप लोग कह रहे थे कि मेंसुरेशन वगैरह में कोई प्रॉब्लम आ रही है. अच्छा, उससे पहले देयर वर सम स्टूडेंट्स हु वर सेइंग कि प्रोपोर्शन वगैरह में प्रॉब्लम आ रही है. दैट हाउ डू यू इंक्रीज अ फ्रैक्शन, हाउ डू यू डिक्रीज अ फ्रैक्शन. ना उसमें आपने एक चीज़ का ज़हन में रखना. इंक्रीजिंग अ नंबर इन अ फ्रैक्शन, इंक्रीजिंग मीन्स मल्टीप्लाई बाय improper fraction, and if you're decreasing a number, then it is multiplying by a proper fraction. ठीक है, ये चीज़ ज़हन में रखना. That is how you do it. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's suppose there is this, they say that decrease 54 in 5:4, or decrease 54 in 6 ratio, what, 6 ratio 5. Okay, we have to do that. Then what you need to make sure is, because you have to decrease, then you have to do 54 multiplied by, you can only get two fractions here. Either you can get 6 by 5 or you can get 5 by 6. Which one is proper? 5 by 6. So we multiplied by that. So 6 9s are 54, you get 45 is 54 decreased by that ratio. Okay, so that's a simple way of doing it. Let's suppose they say that when 54 was decreased by unknown fraction to make it 27. What is the fraction? So then again, you know that this is going to be, it was decreased, so it has to be a proper fraction. So इसका मतलब है छोटा नंबर ऊपर होगा. So 27 over 54 कर लें, and that fraction is 1/2. So that is the fraction by which it was reduced. So ratios में, proportions में ये चीज़ आती है. अच्छा, one thing that you have to remember in those things is कि आपके पास 3.5 है, for example, या 3.25 है. This number can have different meanings. For example, if I say $3.525, then that is 325 cents or $3.25. But if I say that I have 3.25 hours, then that is not 3 hours and 25 minutes. It is 3 hours and a quarter hour, which is 15 minutes. तो इसलिए आपने ये चीज़ जहन में रखनी है that if you want to convert it to anything like that, you have to consider कि units क्या हैं. Same numbers can have different meanings, और वो हमें यहाँ से ही पता चलते हैं. Alright, so you have to consider that. Then percentages. If somebody says, and it's a very simple question, let's say somebody was getting $200 as their salary. Okay, so the salary was $200. Now they got a raise of $10, 10%. Sorry, they got a raise of 10%, and then that 10% went down to, and then they got a decrease of 10%. Now, what is their new what you call salary? Let's suppose the question is that $200 was the original amount. They got a raise of 10%, and then it was decreased by 10%. Then what is the final what you call salary? All right, so let's see it. So how do you raise any percentages? So what you do is you have to consider the original value is 100%. Okay, Rohel, I'm so sorry for doing this. Where's Rohel? किधर गया ये? And who was the other one? All right. Okay, so $200, and I want to increase them by 10%. So what do I do? You have to know that original amount is 100%. So if you increase it by 10%, your amount is going to be 110%. Okay, so and 110% is simply 1.1, so you multiply this by 1.1. ठीक है, so इसका मतलब है जो आंसर आएगा, एंड आई एम नॉट गेटिंग द आंसर राइट नाउ, जो भी आंसर आएगा ना, दैट इज द सैलरी आफ्टर द रेज. अच्छा, now they're saying that it was decreased by 10%. So now I will decrease it by 10%. So let's say original amount is 100%. So if you decrease it by 10%, what do you get? 90%. So now 90% is 0.9. So it's going to be multiplied with 0.9, and there you go. That is my answer. Okay, so I'll multiply this and I will get my whatever my answer is going to be. All right, so that is how you increase or decrease in percentages. Acha. Then there is a question. Rotational symmetry. Okay. All right, so rotational symmetry क्या होती है? Rotational symmetry is that how many times do you rotate something, like in one complete rotation. If you rotate something and in one complete rotation, how many times it comes back to its original position or its original shape. So for example, this pencil, if you look at it, then it has a pointy end and it has a rounded end. Then that means that if I rotate it in one complete rotation, this is half a rotation, it's not backward. राइट साइड पे राउंड एंड था, लेफ्ट साइड पे पॉइंटी एंड था, सो पॉइंटी एंड उधर ही वापस होना चाहिए. सो अब ये कंप्लीट रोटेशन के बाद वो वापस आ गया, तो इसका रोटेशन सिमेट्री क्या है ही नहीं. आई गेव इट अ वन कंप्लीट रोटेशन और बीच में कहीं भी वो अपने ओरिजिनल पोजीशन पे नहीं आई. सो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी अ रोटेशन सिमेट्री ऑफ ऑर्डर 0 because it did not come back to its original shape in a complete rotation anytime. Now if I do that with, for example, this phone, so this phone and this has a very similar rounded rectangle shape है, तो if I rotate it, मैंने अभी half rotation कर ली है, but it has come back to its original shape, and when I do another half rotation, it come back to its original shape. So it has come back to its original shape twice, so that means its rotational symmetry is order 2. So order 1 होता ही कुछ नहीं है, या ऑर्डर 0 होता है, विच मीन्स कि वो पूरी रोटेशन में एक भी दफ़ा अपनी ओरिजिनल पोजीशन पे नहीं आता, या वो 2 होगा, या वो 3 होगा, या वो 4 होगा. बेसिकली दैट्स ऑल इट मीन्स. ऑलराइट, नाउ द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज दैट हाउ डू यू फिगर आउट वेदर दिस थिंग इज गोइंग टू हैव अ रोटेशनल सिमेट्री ऑफ दैट ऑर्डर. लेट्स सपोज वो आपको एक शेप दे देते हैं और आपसे कहते हैं कि बताएं इसकी रोटेशनल सिमेट्री क्या है. नाउ देयर आर 2 वेज ऑफ डूइंग दिस. एक तो ये कि आप उसका ओरिजिनल इमेज, और ये आप स्कूल के एग्ज़ाम में तो डेफिनेटली कर सकोगे, जो आपके CIE के एग्ज़ाम है उसमें पॉसिबिलिटी है कि वो आपको ये ना करने दें. ऑल्दो इन द एग्ज़ाम पेपर यू आर अलाउड टू यूज़ ट्रेसिंग पेपर, CIEs में भी यू आर अलाउड टू यूज़ ट्रेसिंग पेपर्स, लेकिन वो आपको अलाउ नहीं करते. इन्विजिलेटर्स को अक्सर पता नहीं होता, तो वो कहते हैं कि नहीं जी हमने अलाउ नहीं करना आपको ये लेके जाना. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. वट आई वुड सजेस्ट इज कि कभी वो आपसे कहता है ना कि रोटेशनल सिमेट्री बना के दो, वो कहता है कि ये एक शेप है, कोई भी एक शेप है, लेट्स सपोज ये स्टार है, एंड दे सेइंग इसका रोटेशनल सिमेट्री बना के दो. नाउ वन सिंपल वे ऑफ डूइंग दैट इज कि एक रफ शीट लो और उसके ऊपर ये शेप कॉपी कर लो. उसके बाद क्वेश्चन पेपर को आपने कंपेयर करना है, उस रफ शीट को ना घुमाओ, गिव इट वन कंप्लीट रोटेशन एंड यू विल सी कि कितनी दफ़ा वो ओरिजिनल क्वेश्चन पेपर वाली शेप के वापस आता है. जितनी दफ़ा वो वापस आया एक फुल रोटेशन में, दैट इज़ योर ऑर्डर ऑफ सिमेट्री. That is one way you can do it. Tracing paper you can bring it to the exam paper. Schools में भी allowed होना चाहिए और CIE में तो allowed होता है. Invigilator ना करे वो और बात है. So you can take that and tracing paper पे उसकी shape बनाई, rotate किया, देख लिया कितनी दफ़ा original पे वापस आता है. That is one way of doing this. Another way, if you have a shape and you want to figure out the rotational symmetry, then what you can do is that you can look at the center of that shape. So अगर मैं इस shape को पकड़ता हूँ, is there a way to enlarge it? Okay, yeah, so we've zoomed in. Okay, so इसके center को आपने देखना है, and what you're going to do is you are trying to connect the corners. ठीक है, आपने corners को connect करना है with this. Okay, so there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 different angles. So then the order of rotational symmetry is going to be 5. ओके, 5 डिफरेंट एंगल्स आ गए हैं ना, तो इसका मतलब है इसका ऑर्डर ऑफ रोटेशनल सिमेट्री 5 है. इनफैक्ट किस एंगल पे करता है? 360 डिवाइडेड बाय 5, आई थिंक दैट 72, आई एम नॉट श्योर, 72 कंफर्म कर लेना. सो 72 डिग्रीज पे जाके ये ओरिजिनल शेप पे वापस आ जाता है. और CIE के रूल्स के मुताबिक ट्रेसिंग पेपर अलाउड है. इफ़ एनी पर्टिकुलर टीचर डज नॉट अलाउ इट, तो वो उनकी अपनी मर्जी होती है. CIE के रूल के मुताबिक इट्स अलाउड. All right, moving on. What's the next topic somebody wanted to study? The next topic was symmetry हो गया है, coordinate geometry. Coordinate geometry, some students wanted to know. Coordinate geometry is easy. Coordinate geometry is basically just a couple of formulas, and based on that, you can obviously review it. I will talk about matrices next then. Matrices, trigonometry is super important. Trigonometry paper 1 में आती है और उसके कुछ shortcuts हैं जो paper 1 में आते हैं, मैं अभी आपको इसके बाद बताता हूँ. So now we are going to do what were we going to do? अभी किसी ने coordinate geometry पूछा था. So coordinate geometry, then matrices, then let's do trigonometry. Okay, so okay, mensuration as well. Yeah, काफ़ी देर से ये request आई हुई है. All right, so I'm sorry, I lost track of the conversation. Coordinate geometry. So coordinate geometry में what you have to first consider is that you obviously have points x and y, ऐसे उल्टा नहीं लिखना. Second, अगर आपके पास कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री में वो कहता है कि कोई भी शेप आ जाती है, ठीक है, उसका शॉर्ट मैं आपको फॉर्मूलाज बता देता हूँ. डिस्टेंस कैसे निकालते हैं? एक पॉइंट है ए, एक पॉइंट है बी, उनका डिस्टेंस निकालने का ये सिंबल होता है. एग्जाम में आप सिंबल ना लिखें एक ही बात है. अच्छा, एक फॉर्मूला लिखने का मार्क्स नहीं होते, बट फॉर्मूलाज रियली हेल्प आउट इन मेकिंग श्योर कि आप जो लिख रहे हो वो आपको पता है क्या है. इनफैक्ट एग्जामिनर को भी जब फॉर्मूला नज़र आ जाता है ना तो उसको पता है बच्चा कर क्या रहा है. ठीक है, सो रैंडम नंबर्स प्लग इन करने से बेहतर है कि आप पहले फॉर्मूला लिख लो. If you're using a formula, why not write it down? So just write it down. So the formula of this one is, remember जो डिस्टेंस फॉर्मूला है ना वो पाइथागोरस थ्योरम की एक डिफरेंट फॉर्म है. पाइथागोरस थ्योरम सबको याद होता है. पाइथागोरस थ्योरम क्या कहता है? a square is equal to b square plus c square, right? In this case, what is welcome back to Hale. So a squared is your distance. So distance squared. b squared क्या है? Your change in x, या distance in x. So your distance squared is distance in x, यानी कि change in x squared, plus your c is change in y, so change in y squared. Okay, so how do you find change in any two numbers? दोनों को subtract करते हैं ना. That's what you do. So x2 minus x1 squared, this is your change in x, and change in y is y2 minus y1. Okay, so that's the squared, and that's your going to be the distance squared. अब squared को ख़त्म कैसे करते हैं? Square root ले लेते हैं. So there you go, that's your formula. Square root of x squared, x2 minus x1 whole squared plus y2 minus y1 whole squared. Alright, so there you go. Yeah, I love all my students as well. Okay, so that gives us x2 minus x1. अब ये हमारे पास क्या है? डिस्टेंस फॉर्मूला आ गया. सो जस्ट प्लग इट इन और आपको पता लग जाएगा. अब अगर मैंने डिस्टेंस मल्टीप्लाई बाय 5 करना है और मुझे वो पॉइंट पता करना है, सो कोई मसला ही नहीं है. डिस्टेंस मुझे पता लग गया, x2 x1 मैं डाल दूंगा और मुझे आंसर आ जाएगा. अच्छा, मिड पॉइंट कैसे निकालते हैं? मिड पॉइंट का भी आपके पास फॉर्मूला होता है. मिड पॉइंट क्या होता है? मिड पॉइंट इज एवरेज. ओके, सो मिड पॉइंट इज एवरेज. हाउ डू यू फाइंड एवरेज ऑफ टू नंबर्स? Add them divided by 2, right? So that's how you do it. And so articles of faith, I'm sorry, आर्टिकल्स ऑफ फेथ कहाँ से आ गया मैथ्स में? अच्छा, इस्लामियत. अब आई विल टॉक टू द इस्लामिक टीचर एंड रिक्वेस्ट के वो सेशन ले लें. ऑलराइट, सो मेल्टिंग पॉइंट नहीं, मिड पॉइंट इज बेसिकली you take the average x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and this is going to give you another point. वो point हमें हमारे पास जो होगा ना, that is what we are going to get. Alright, so that is midpoint. अब यहाँ पर एक बात आ जाती है कि how do you know if two numbers are perpendicular to each other? Like how do you know that? Then what you do is that how do you know that two lines are perpendicular to each other? You take the gradient. Now, what is gradient? Gradient is also a very simple thing. Gradient is change in y divided by change in x. Okay, so that is it. So how do you find change? Again, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so that is it. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that is going to give you the gradient. Now, let's suppose you already know what the gradient is. Then how do you find the other line? Is it perpendicular? How do you confirm that it is? So what you do is, if you want to know whether two lines are perpendicular to each other, एक का gradient लो, दूसरे का gradient लो, they should multiply to give -1. Take the gradient of the first one, multiply with the gradient of the second one, they should give you -1. That is one thing. Second thing, let's suppose you have a gradient and you want to find the gradient of perpendicular line. Then what do you do is that, remember, gradient of perpendicular lines is negative reciprocal of each other. Negative reciprocal. Let's suppose, I'll give an example. Let's suppose you're solving it and for one line the gradient is 3/4. What's the gradient of perpendicular line? It's going to be 4/3 because that is the reciprocal, and negative, so that is -4/3. Now let's suppose there is another line and its gradient is -2/3. So the gradient of the perpendicular line, that will be, you flip it 3/2 and then you change the sign, so plus, and there you go. That's the gradient of the perpendicular line. So perpendicular lines have gradients that are negative reciprocals of each other. All right, so that's how you know that. Okay, so that's coordinate geometry. Let's suppose we are going to solve a question and then we will know what's happening here. So let's suppose they're saying that find the equation of perpendicular line to y equals to 2x minus 7 passing through 3, 4. Okay, so there you go. That is our question. So first thing, is cheating allowed? Cheating is always allowed. You just don't have, you just make sure you don't get caught. Yep, getting caught is not allowed. Okay, so y equals to 2x minus 7. So 2 is the gradient of this line, right? So that means if I'm looking for the perpendicular line, then my gradient is going to be 1 over 2 reciprocal and then negative, because negative reciprocal is the gradient of perpendicular line. So -1/2 is the gradient of my new line. Okay, so now I know a point of the line. So I know that y equals mx plus c. I'll plug in the values. I know the gradient, I know the point. So 4 equals to -1/2 times 3 plus c. This is going to be -3/2 plus c. This is 4. 4 plus 3/2 is c. That gives me what? 11/2. So now I'm going to bring this and this together, and y equals to -1/2 plus 11/2. And there you go. We have solved it. If you're able to solve this question, you understand coordinate geometry, I guess. All right, so that's coordinate geometry. If you have any question, just WhatsApp it to me and I will be happy to solve it here with you. All right. What was the next topic we needed to work on? Okay, that was mensuration. All right, so mensuration is all about formulas. So first thing you have to know is what the formulas are, and you need to make sure that you understand the formulas. If you don't have the WhatsApp number, it's in the description of the video. You can get it from there and WhatsApp the question. I will be happy to solve it here. Okay. First thing you have to know is what the formula is. Formula banaya bhi ja sakta hai, like you don't have to memorize all the formulas, but अभी के लिए we don't have time कि हम formulas को बनाना सीखें. So what I would suggest is कि आप अभी के लिए उनको याद कर लें. ठीक है, पहली बात ये होगी. दूसरी बात आपने ये ज़हन में रखनी है that whatever shape you get, if you want the exact area, exact volume, whatever you need to get of those, then what you need to make sure, if you don't have WhatsApp, you can send it on Instagram, I guess. Where else would you send it? Post it on, if you're in one of my school classes, you can post it on Google Classroom and let me know. I'll pick it from there. Okay. What's next? So mensuration में you have to know the formulas. A formula आगे, but हर shape का तो formula नहीं होता ना. So what you do is you divide your shape, whatever you have, into different parts. So for example, they ask us, and they can combine the distance formula, distance time graphs, and so let's suppose this is velocity time graph, and they're saying that solve it, okay, and find the distance traveled. Okay, so this is a trapezium, pretty straightforward. I can easily solve it. Now let's suppose this graph wasn't there. If the graph was like that, in fact, not that quite. Let's suppose if this was the graph, and they're saying that find the area of, or find the distance traveled. Okay, so what you do is you divide this into multiple shapes. One way of dividing it is I'll make a triangle here, I'll make a trapezium here, and there you go. So I have a rectangle, a triangle, and a trapezium. Add all of them together and you have your answer. Let's suppose these values are given. This is 2, this is 10, this is 18, and this is 5, and this is 10. Okay, so that's given to us. Now I want to figure out the area. Assalamu alaikum, yeah. Now that is one way of doing it, but there is an easier way as well. What if I were to divide these like this? So triangle here, and a rectangle here. There you go. Pretty straightforward. I can do that. But there's an easier method, a more easy method. You can just divide them like this, and you have 2 trapezium, and you can just apply the formula of 2 trapezium. So you have to make sure that whatever shapes you have, you divide them in ways that are more manageable, ताकि आपका time बचे. और आपने space को obviously carefully use करना है, और अगर you're running out of space, then make sure that you first solve it on the rough side and then transfer it over there. Usually in CIEs we have enough time. Alright, ठीक है. So that's the idea of mensuration. इसके अलावा वो आपसे arc length के बारे में पूछता है, आपसे circle के different parts का पूछता है, circle के sectors का पूछता है. For example, there was this question. Let's solve it. Let's suppose there were 2 circles. In fact, let's draw this. So there's one circle and there's another circle right there, and they're saying that they both have the same center, and now we need to find the shaded area. All right, so we have to find the shaded area, and the values are, this is 3, this is also 3, and this angle is 60 degrees. Okay, so go on, take a few minutes and try to solve this question. I'm sorry, Anahita, I don't understand. What do you mean my setup? Do you want to know the teaching setup over here? And guys, please focus. Solve this question. इंसान के हाथ में डेस्टिनी नहीं होती है, कोशिश होती है, वो आप करें. Yes, of course, you can send me questions for AdMaths. What apps or stuff I use? Okay, so while others solve it, I use Notability on the iPad. I connect it to the Mac, or Mac I'm using OBS, and OBS is using the live stream. I have to use the जो ये pictures की जो भी editing वगैरह होती है, I do it on Photoshop and Canva, उसको मैं use करता हूँ. और उसके अलावा क्या है? I think that's it. That's pretty much it. The question is find the shaded area. You're looking at a shape in front of you. You have to find the shaded area. Let me zoom in. You're welcome. Okay, we are going to do standard form next. Okay, so let's see how we can solve this question. Now, this question is actually not that difficult. What you have to make sure is that you are considering what you have right now. So let's see. If I look at the bigger circle and ignore the inner circle, what do I have? In the bigger circle, let's find the area of the bigger circle. The bigger circle is pi into 6 squared. That's the bigger circle. Now, the two things that are not part of it. First of all, this smaller circle that's inside, that's not part of whatever is included. So I will subtract the smaller circle's area, pi into 3 squared. Then I will also subtract जो मेरे पास ये सेक्टर का थोड़ा सा एरिया आया हुआ है, मतलब I need to know this thing in blue. Let me shade this. So this thing in blue, I need to figure this out because I have to subtract that as well. Now how do I do it? Now the thing in blue is basically the area of the larger sector, just this part, and then subtracting the area of the inner sector. Okay, so inner sector का area क्या है? So inner sector का area मेरे पास आता है larger sector का area है 60 over 360 multiplied by pi into 6 squared, right? And then I subtract 60 over 360 multiplied by area of the smaller circle ताकि smaller sector मेरे पास आ जाए, तो pi into 3 squared. Okay, so this is giving me this blue area. All right, so this is just the blue area. Okay, and that I'm also subtracting from the total circle to get the red area. Okay, and then at the end I have to add the smaller sector. So 60 over 360 multiplied by pi into 3 squared. Okay, so let me recap कि यहाँ पे हो क्या कर रहा है. So first of all, to find this outer donut, I have to, if this was the donut, then I have to subtract the area of the inner circle. So that is this. So this is the inner circle, this is the outer circle. From outer circle, I subtract the inner circle, I get the donut outside. Then I needed to find that blue area. The blue area was part of the bigger sector, and the sector's area was pi in 360 over 360 multiplied by pi 6 squared minus the inner red, this smaller red sector. So for that one I had to do 60 over 360 into pi into 3 squared. So ये मेरे पास blue area आ गया, वो भी मैंने इसमें से माइनस कर दिया और इस तरह मेरे पास वो पोर्शन आ गया जो बाहर वाले का रेड एरिया या पिंक एरिया शेडेड है. That's one. Then I need to add this small area again, and for that, that's pretty simple. 60 over 360 into pi into 3 squares. So you do all of it and you will get your final answer. Okay, so that was how you solved it. So mensuration में हमारे पास this is the kind of questions that we get. All right, add sugar to coffee. I'll explain that in a bit. Okay, you should not use calculators, and what do you do if you have pi or things like that in your paper one? You keep them as pi. जैसे x आ जाए तो आप उसको x ही लिखते जाते हो ना जहाँ भी आता है, वैसे ही pi को treat it like that and give your final answer in the form of something multiplied with pi. Keep it simple. All right, only losers use calculator. Okay, wow, that's a lot of judgment. Okay, next question was standard form. Standard form क्या होती है? Standard form ये होती है that you basically make sure that whatever number you have, it has decimal point right after the first digit. Decimal point right after the first digit. So that's important. So for example, if the shape is like, if the value is 2365, the standard form would be 2.365 multiplied by 10 power 1. Now how do you know it's 10 power 1? It is 10 power 1 sorry, my bad, it's not 10 power 1, it's 10 power 3. Now how do I know it's 10 power 3? What you do is you start here at the point and you move it 3 steps to the left. Now if you're moving to the left, power will increase. If you're moving to the right, power will decrease. That's the idea of standard form. Moving to the left, power increases. Moving to the right, power decreases. Now let's suppose my value was 23.65 and I needed to give it in the standard form. How do I do it? Move it 1 step to the left. So 2.365, and what was the power of 10 in this value? It is 10 power 0, right? It wasn't shown, so it's 10 power 0. So now I have moved it 1 step to the right. 0 plus 1, 10 power 1. What if it was 0.00236? Then sorry, I move it 1, 2, 3. That is 2.365 multiply by 10 to the power. Now I'm moving 3 steps to the right, so minus 3. Now, what if we already had some powers of 10? Like if it was 2.365 into 10 power 2. Is this already in standard form? Yes. But what if it was this? 236.5. Then to make it in standard form, I'll have to move the decimal point 2 steps to the left. So then 2.365 into 10 power 4. Why 4? Because again, you move to the left, you increase the power. You move to the right, you decrease the power. So that's what happened. It was already at 2. I moved it 2 steps up. That is 10 power 4. So that is how you do standard form. Now the question is, how do you do plus, minus, multiply, and divide in standard form? So for doing that, what you have to do is that in plus and minus, keep the decimal point, convert it to standard form, and then subtract it. But for that, you have to make sure that the powers of 10 are the same. So let's suppose population of China. What is that? Let's see, population of China. Population of China is 1.4 billion. So that is 1.4. Oh God, that's a lot of people to manage. Into 10 power 9. Okay, so that's the population of China. What's the population of Pakistan? That's 220 million. Is it? $221 million. Okay, so 221 million. All right, so 221 million. So million is 10 power 6. Now, how many more people does China have than Pakistan? Okay, so minus. All right, so there you go. We can't subtract them, right? So what you have to make sure is that first the powers of 10 should be match. So some people don't know how million and billion works. So 3 zeros is 1000. 3000, 1000 is a million. That is 3 plus 3, that's 6. 1000 million is a billion, so that's 3 plus 3 plus 3, that is 9. Okay, so we can't take 10 to the power 6 common, because technically we can, not really a problem. Like if you do that, you will get 10 power 6 is common, and that leaves us with 1.4 into 10 power 3 minus 221, which is fine. You can do that. So 1400 minus 221 into 10 power 6. And yeah, you can solve it, and that will give you the answer. So yes, you're right. But then just make sure that at the end, you just convert it to a standard form again. So for example, this one is going to be, I think, 1179 into 10 power 6. So China has 1179 million more people than Pakistan. So to convert it to standard form, I'll move the decimal point again like this. So 1.179 into 10 power 9 again. Okay, so there you go. That's how you do subtraction or addition in this. Now, how long is the paper? The paper 1 of course is 2 hours long. Okay, that's serious. I'm so sorry, Dina. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope he recovers his identity. Paper 1 is 2 hours. Paper 2 is 2 hours 30 minutes. Okay, so now let's suppose yeah, so if there was what's a good example? I don't know. If you had to give if you had 1.5 billion toys and you were giving them to Pakistanis, then how many toys would every Pakistani get? So you have 1.5 billion toys, so that is 1.5 times 10 power 9 divided by there are 221 million Pakistanis. So let's just say 200 million Pakistanis. So 200 into 10 power 6. Now, how do you do it? So it's again really simple. Just make sure that powers of 10 go with powers of 10. So 10 power 6, this is 3. And then you have to divide 1.5 and 200. Now, one way it will be really easy is to convert it to a fraction. So 1.5, or you can even do this. 1.5 into 10 power 3 is 1500. 1500 over 200 is, so every Pakistani should get 7.5 toys. That's one way of doing it. Okay. All right. I have no idea where math is and where math ends and where history begins in you guys are still what's the right word, some different state of mind. Park study se nikal aao bhai bahar. Okay, so that is it for standard form. What's next? Somebody wanted to study trigonometry, if I remember. अच्छा, अब ट्रिग्नोमेट्री में ना ये चीज़ पेपर 1 में बहुत दफ़ा टेस्ट होती है. I understand most people just fail Pakistan studies. In fact, all our leaders would fail Pakistan studies, otherwise वो हमारी हिस्ट्री से कुछ सीख लेते और कुछ अच्छा कर लेते. खैर, so let's do trigonometry now. Ahmed, for mensuration, just make sure that whatever shape you have, divide it into manageable parts. Individual parts that you can take out and calculate. Area, volume, perimeter, जो भी निकालना है अलग-अलग कर लें उसको. अच्छा, yes, trigonometry में I will get to the quadrants part in a bit, because quadrants part is not in O levels, it's only in IGCSE. हमें जो देखना है ना, legislative assembly, what is it? Assembly is where people come and legislative is where they make laws. So people come to make laws. Parliament का पुराना नाम legislative assembly. You guys are so random. Desperate electorate, I have no idea. I've never heard that term. Trigonometry, people come back to it. सुबह CIE है पेपर और मैथ्स का भी पेपर है LGS की पता नहीं कितनी ब्रांचेस में. Alright, trigonometry. Now, first thing, trigonometry में हमारे पास Pythagoras theorem होता है, सबको आता है. I will not review it. Desperate electrolyte नहीं था, separate electrolyte था. ठीक है. Alright, so I'm not going to be distracted now. Trigonometry. So for trigonometry, what you have to know is the first thing जो कि अक्सर बच्चों को नहीं आती और वो एग्जामिनर जब उसके ऊपर पूछता है तो बेचारे परेशान हो जाते हैं, वो है complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that add to make 90 degrees. ठीक है? So angles that make 90 degrees. So A plus B, they make 90 degrees. Okay. So what's the big deal about them? The thing is, in a right angle triangle, those are the only two triangles you have. Those are the only two angles you have. एक तो 90 हो गया ना, तो पीछे एक ये बचा, let's call it 80, और एक ये बचा, let's call it B. Now pay attention, I'm going to tell you something that's really useful. Sine of the first angle is same as the cos of the second angle. And cos of the first angle is same as sine of the second angle. And this is only when two angles add to make 90. ठीक है? जब ये situation आ जाए, then you have this idea. So for example, if they say that you have a right angle triangle in which let's say this is 43 degrees, and the question says this is 2, this is 5, find cos of 47. Now this is a question, go on, attempt it. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this. Okay, do we have any other questions? And I thought cos of one thing is equal to cos of another. Yeah, I'll explain that next. What is a separate electorate? That's not maths, but I'll tell you separate electorate क्या होता है. If you feel like you're not being represented properly, तो आप कहते हो कि हमारे लिए हमारा एक नया separate बंदा होना चाहिए हमें represent करने के लिए. जैसे पाकिस्तान में we have a separate person for women. कि असेंबली में देर एवरी पार्टी नॉमिनेट सम वेमेन के ये औरतों के लिए हैं, या दे नॉमिनेट समबडी फॉर द माइनॉरिटीज़. ऑल्दो दैट्स सो वियर्ड, लाइक यू जस्ट कंबाइन ऑल द माइनॉरिटीज़ इनटू वन. हाउ इज़ दैट फेयर? बट खैर, so that's separate electorate. If you feel like you're not being represented properly, you get a separate person. For example, when I was in LUMS, तो वहाँ पे for the girls they had a separate electorate. There was a completely different person who was part of the council, who was selected by the women only. Okay, you need a literature class on Rebecca. Okay, I'll talk to some literature teacher and hopefully he or she would help. What else? Please, yeah, history छोड़ दें. Yes, but these people are asking about history. I don't know why. They're in the wrong YouTube channel, I guess. अहमद क्या पूछना है? क्वेश्चन पूछो भाई, क्वेश्चन क्या है या क्वेश्चन बताओ। कंप्यूटर साइंस का हम देख लेंगे, अभी हमने सेशन भी किया है क्वेश्चन कंप्यूटर साइंस का। ओके डू आई हैव एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? व्हाट्सएप पे कुछ क्वेश्चन आए हैं, लेट मी चेक। ओके सो कोऑर्डिनेट ज्योमेट्री का एक क्वेश्चन है, सो वो कर लेते हैं, फिर विल कम बैक टू इट। Okay, we'll come back to trigonometry in a bit. So coordinate geometry का ये क्वेश्चन है, ये कह रहे हैं कि you have -3 4 and 5 1. What is the midpoint? So midpoint क्या होता है? Average. So just take the average. 5 plus -3 divided by 2, that's the average of x, and 1 plus 4 divided by 2, that's the average of y, and that's your midpoint. Gradient is again, what is the gradient? Difference in y divided by difference in x. So difference in y divided by difference in x. So 4 minus 1, that is 3, and -3 minus 5, that's -8. That's your gradient. R is point -6 O, so there is another point -6 O. Which of the points R or P is closer to origin? So you just find the distance. So origin is 0 0. So हमें distance निकालना है. Distance between this and distance between this and this. So distance formula apply करेंगे and we'll know. Okay, coming back to this. Now how do you find cos of 47? Now you know that this is 43, so this is definitely 47 because that's how you add them to make, like, complete the triangle. Now I know cos of 47 in this triangle is going to be, I need base over hypotenuse, right? That is what we need. Now how do you get base over hypotenuse? We don't have hypotenuse, so we'll use Pythagoras theorem. So Pythagoras theorem tells me that a square is equal to 5 squared plus 2 squared. So that gives me a is equal to 25 plus 9. This is 29. So square root of front end. Keep it like that. Don't try to divide into other like decimal places. वो नहीं करो. Calculator use नहीं करो. So now cos of 47 is simply base over that. So 2 over square root 29, and there you go. Okay. So that is what you get. That's the cos of 47. Similarly, if they ask you next for 1 mark, what is sine of 47? Sine of 43. Now you know that sine of 43 is same as cos of 47. Why? Because 47 and 43 add to make 90. So sine of one is same as cos of the other. So there you go. Sine of 43 is cos of 47. That's what you get. So that is complementary angles. Now moving on, and now we are going to do supplementary angles. Okay, supplementary angles are the ones that add to make 180. So A plus B equal to 180 degrees. Okay, now once you know that, then this is something that is also called the quadrant thing. Now what do you do in this case? Quadrant thing के लिए what you have to make sure is कि आपको ये पता होना चाहिए, and this is again very important, sin A is equal to sin B, cos A is equal to cos B, tan A is equal to tan B. तो फर्क क्या है? फर्क ये है that these two are negative. That's it. तो अगर एक का cos आपको पता है तो दूसरे का cos will be negative of that. एक का sin पता है तो दूसरे का sin would be negative of that. Alright? So that is what happens here. And that is what you have to understand. That for example, if I tell you that what sine of 153 is x over 7. Now what is sine of 27? And this is all the information that is given, and you are in an exam hall without a calculator. How do you solve this? You have to make sure that sine of 27 है ना, ठीक है, तो sine of 27 plus 153 is 180. That means दोनों का sine same होगा. So sine of 153 is what it is. So it's also x over 7. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a difficult problem. What if they told us that sine of 153 is x over 7, find cos of 153? Now that is kind of difficult to solve. So what we do is, we know that this is sine, cos, tan. They are all part of the triangle. So एक right angle triangle बनाते हैं, और इस triangle में हमें पता है कि एक angle 153 है. But how do I show 153 in here? This might be 153. Okay. which means this is 27. And what is sine of 27? It is going to be x opposite over hypotenuse. And there you go, that is what it is. So now, what is my base in this triangle? Pythagoras theorem gives me base is going to be 7 squared is equal to x squared plus base squared. So base is going to be 49 minus x squared ka square root. So this is going to be 49 minus x squared. Okay, so now I have that. Now what is cos of 27 from that triangle? It's going to be square root of 49 minus x squared over 7, the hypotenuse. And when I have that, this is equal to cos of 153. The only difference is that this one's going to be negative. Okay, and that is what you have to understand. Okay, so that is the second part of trigonometry, where you talk about supplementary angles. Just know that if two angles add to make 180, then sine of one is equal to cos of the other, and cos of one is equal to sine of the sine of one is equal to sine of the other, cos of one is equal to cos of the other, tan of one is equal to tan of the other. It's just as cos and tan, so cos and tan are negative. ओके, मूविंग ऑन, ट्रिग्नोमेट्री में ये एक इम्पॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट होता है. उसके अलावा ऑब्वियसली यू हैव कॉस रूल, साइन रूल, वो तो सबको अप्लाई करने आते होंगे, और उसमें एज सच हमें कैलकुलेटर्स की ज़्यादा ज़रूरत होती है. पेपर 2 में उसका ज़्यादा यूज़ होता है, या हम डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं इफ़ यू नो ऑलरेडी द वैल्यूज़ ऑफ साइन, जो कि पेपर 1 में आपको दे देता है. ओके, व्हाट्स नेक्स्ट, व्हाट एल्स डू यू नीड टू नो? Let me see. Okay, inverse function. Sure. How do you find inverse of a function? Let's say we have a simple function y is equal to 2x minus 7. And let's say this is f of x is 2x minus 7. Now, how to convert it to an inverse? First step, an inverse always has fixed step. Step 1, f of x equals to y. So put y there, and there you go, start. Step 2, x as subject. So make x the subject. So y plus 7 ho jayega equals to 2x, and then x equals y plus 7 whole over 2. Okay. Step 3, you change them, switch them. So now x becomes f inverse and y becomes x plus 7 over 2. So the third step is switch. All right, and that's how you do it. So I'm going to give you another problem, try to solve it. So what if I know that f of x is equal to 3 over 4 x minus 2? What is the inverse going to be? Go on, do it. Then do not talk about KKK in my class. It's so offensive. It's a very sad chapter in world history. और भाई कोई मैथ्स की बात हुई है, कोई मेरे काम की बात है? लॉग्स, श्योर, विल डू लॉग सम अदर डे. आज मैथ्स के ऊपर फोकस कर रहे हैं, एडवांस का हम कर लेंगे लॉग. Video game? Okay, it sounds interesting. I would like to see. Something's happening with Kanye, I don't know. This chat is crazy. Who's my favorite Kardashian sister? How many are there? Well, don't tell me, I don't know. And I don't care. Uh, okay. So that was functions and finding inverse of a function. Okay, what's next? What else do you want to study? Guys, by the way, if you're liking the session, just like the session. Okay, anything else you want to study? Any questions that you want to ask? Okay, I have a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see. Acha, there's this question that how do you find powers? So for example, there's this question, let's say we have, the question is 81 power k is equal to what? 9. Okay, so how do you solve it? So first thing that you should do is that you should convert them to a common base. So for example, this one I can write it as 9 power 2 whole power k, right? And that makes it 9. And this is 9 power 2k equals to 9 power 1. Now because the bases are same, unless they're 0, you can equate them, equate the powers as well. So this means that 2k equals to 1. Why exactly can we do this? We can do it because of logs, but वो logs हम फिर किसी और दिन देखेंगे for AD maths and A-level maths. And this is 1 by 2, so k is there. But what if you have two numbers that are not in one another's direct table? Then what do you do in that case? For example, if this same question was 243 power k is equal to 9, then how would you solve that? Now 243 we know is 3 to the power 5 and 9 is 3 to the power 2. So then again we do this, 3 power 5k is equal to 3 power 2, and that gives me 5k equals to 2, k is equal to 2 by 5. Okay, you can leave your answer as 2 by 5, you can leave your answer as minus 0.4. Both of them are equally right. There's another question that I've received. It is, okay, so this is indices. So 16 over x power 8 whole power minus 1 by 4. Okay, how do you solve this? Let's see. First thing, you know that this is power of two fractions, right? So if you flip the fraction, power changes sign. If you flip the fraction, power changes sign. That's an important thing to remember. So I flip the fraction, not the power, the fraction. So it is x power 8 over 16, and that means my power will change its sign. It will become plus 1 by 4. That's one. Second, we know that we can multiply the powers with the outside powers. So this becomes x power 8 times 1 by 4. What's a quarter of 8? 2. Similarly, this becomes 16 power 1 by 4. Now that is 4th root of 16. Okay, so I can easily solve this. Fourth root of 16 is 2. But if you don't remember that, you know 16 is 4 squared, right? So 4 squared power 1 by 4, that is x squared over 4 power 1 by 2. And what is square root of 4? It is 2. Now, how do I know it's square root? Because power half is square root. You don't need as many steps as I've shown, because if you remember that 16 is 2 power 4, you will be able to do it in an instant. So that was another question I received. Okay. Any other question that you want me to solve? Yes, this was indices. Was the arrival of the British main reason for the failure of Mughal Empire? No, it was their incompetence. 14 marks, okay. Sorry. Okay, lower bound, upper bound. Okay, देख लेते हैं उसको. Acha, the idea of bounds in this case is basically that what is the maximum number and what is the minimum number that qualifies for a particular estimation. क्या आप उसको आप estimate करते हो कि ये इसकी वैल्यू है, तो क्या वो वैल्यू ट्रू है कि नहीं है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई से दैट okay, so the age of this building is 20 years. Okay, so this building is 20 years old. Now if I say that, then what is the biggest number that the age could be, and I should still be making a factual statement that I would still be, this number will still be true, or what is the biggest number that you can still approximate to 20. So that is, what is this rounded off to? This is rounded off to nearest 10. So I'll add 5 above, 5 below. 10 है ना, तो half of that above, half of that below. So 20 years अगर मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो इसका मतलब है I'm rounding it off to 1 year. Okay, not to a decade. Otherwise I would have said 2 decades. तो वो फिर half a decade आगे, half a decade पीछे. मैंने 20 years बोला है, तो इसका मतलब है मैं round off years में कर रहा हूँ. So I should be going to half a year above, half a year below. So that is कि ये 20.5 भी हो सकता है और 19.5 भी हो सकता है. Okay, so that is one thing. Now here's the thing. Let's suppose there's a guy who weighs 85 kgs. ठीक है, so 80 kgs कर लेते हैं. तो 80 kgs is the weight or the mass, sorry. So and it is to the nearest kg. All right, and then they say that the person lost 5 kgs. So lost 5 kgs to nearest kg. All right, now what is the lower bound of the new weight? Now pay attention, we need the lower bound of the new weight. तो इसका मतलब है कि अब देखते हैं 80 इज टू द नियरेस्ट केजी, तो इसका मतलब है 80 जो है वो या तो हो सकता है 80.5 या वो हो सकता है 79.5. Similarly, he lost 5 kg, so it can either be 5.5 kg that he lost or 4.5 kg that he lost or any number in between. Now I need the lower bound कि सबसे कम वेट उसका अब नया क्या होगा. सबसे कम वेट कब होता है? जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा वेट लूज करो तभी कम वेट होगा ना. सो देन वी आर गोइंग टू कंसिडर कि उसका लेट्स सपोज उसने 5 नहीं 5.5 लूज किया है, मैक्सिमम लूज करवा देते हैं. और उसको स्टार्ट कहाँ से किया? सबसे मिनिमम वैल्यू क्या हो सकती है? वही वैल्यू हो सकती है कि जिससे वो ऑलरेडी बहुत थोड़ा वेट था उसका. सो लोअर वैल्यू 79.5 minus 5.5 that gives me the maximum loss, and now that is that his lower bound of new weight is 74. What is the upper bound of new weight? It is when he starts at the higher value and loses the lower value. Okay, so it's going to be 80.5 minus 4.5, so that's going to be 76. So his new weight is going to be between 74 and 76. Okay, so that is how you find the lower bound and upper bound, and that's the kind of questions that we usually get in those. All right. All right, any other question that you need or any other concept that you want to review? Okay, people who have CIEs, I would suggest कि ये इस document को ज़रूर देख लें. This is example response और a couple of students have already seen it. ये काफ़ी useful होता है because it tells you how not to answer the question or how to answer a question. So I'm going to share that with you, just a minute. So there are 2 paper 1s in this, so you can check them here. Okay, yeah, you're saying please explain the formula half AB sin C. You don't need explanation for this. Yeah, explanation मैं दे देता हूँ अगर आपको required है, but it's not entirely in your syllabus. So let's suppose हमारे पास एक triangle है और हमें उसकी ये triangle है और ये right angle triangle नहीं है, ठीक है, और हमें इसकी एरिया चाहिए. So let's do it. Let's say ये A है, ये B है, ठीक है. अब मुझे इसका एरिया चाहिए और एरिया का फॉर्मूला, द ओनली फॉर्मूला दैट वर्क्स फॉर मी एंड विच आई रिमेंबर इज हाफ टाइम्स बेस टाइम्स हाइट. अब मुझे इसकी हाइट ही नहीं पता. लेट्स से इसकी बेस है ये, तो हाइट तो बेस के परपेंडिकुलर होती है. दैट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग टू रिमेंबर गाइज, दैट हाइट एंड बेस आर ऑलवेज परपेंडिकुलर. तो इसका मतलब इसकी हाइट तो क्या होनी चाहिए. अब मेरे पास हाइट है नहीं, तो मैं क्या करूँगा, मैं एक हाइट बना लेता हूँ अपनी तरफ से. एंड लेट मी कॉल दिस द हाइट एंड लेट मी जॉइन इट लाइक दैट एंड लेट मी गेट अ 90 a theta here. Now do you know that this makes a right angle triangle? It does. So what is height? In this right angle triangle that I have, this is height, this is base, this is theta. You have studied trigonometry, you know what sine is, cos is, tan is. What is the height? Height, what is sine theta? Sine theta is this b over h, basically perpendicular over hypotenuse. So that means h is equal to b sine theta. Sorry, b over sine theta. Is it? Yep, it is. Is it? Wait a minute. No, it's not, sorry. It's h over b, my bad. So it's h over b, which means h is equal to, the height is equal to b sine theta, which means कि अब मेरा ये जो b है ये मुझे बता रहा है कि height क्या है, b sine theta. So now what's the formula now? Half into base, which is a, into height, which is b sine theta. So there you go, I know the formula. अब इसको, because sine theta is this theta and this theta, their sine are equal because they are supplementary angles, as I've explained before. So then you can easily apply them. So if you have any triangle and in that triangle you have this theta, तो फिर इस साइड और इस साइड का यूज करके आप निकाल सकते हो. यानी कि दो साइड्स जो आपको पता है उनके बीच का एंगल, दैट इज व्हाट द थीटा शुड बी, एंड दैट इज हाउ यू अप्लाई दिस फॉर्मूला. ओके, anything else that you want to study or want me to explain? Some students, yep, I don't have any other questions, pending questions now. वेक्टर्स, वेक्टर्स में क्या, पूरा टॉपिक तो अभी नहीं करा सकते, बहुत बड़ा टॉपिक है और अगर अभी नहीं आता तो छोड़ दो. वेक्टर्स में आपको, this isn't part of P1, it could be, why not? The formula is really simple, why not? You know what sine is, you already know supplementary angles, तो हम उसको यूज़ कर सकते हैं ना, ये supplementary angles हमने पढ़े थे, तो we can use it, no problem. वेक्टर्स इन P1 जो क्वेश्चन आता है वो बेसिकली आपने एक वेक्टर को शो कराना होता है दूसरे में. तो आपने पता है क्या, वेक्टर्स के अंदर व्हाट द माइंडसेट शुड बी कि वेक्टर इज़ अ पाथ और पाथ निकालना है आपने फ्रॉम वन पॉइंट टू अनदर. लेट मी गेट अ क्वेश्चन फॉर वेक्टर्स और उसको मैं यहाँ पे सॉल्व कर लेता हूँ. ओके, एक तो बहुत सिंपल सा ये क्वेश्चन है कि देयर इज़ अ पॉइंट ए, मैं कॉपी कर लेता हूँ इसको. Okay, so let's solve it. The point A has position vector 3 minus 7 and AB vector is minus 5 and 12. Find the coordinates of point B. Okay, so we know that coordinates of any point is basically the position vector of that point. Okay, remember this idea that coordinates of a point is position vector of the point और उसको हम बोल देते हैं OB. So OB is what we're looking for. अब AB is OB minus OA. ये भी एक important बात है जो आपको याद होनी चाहिए because position vectors do work like that कि आप second point का position vector minus first point का position vector and that's how you get it. So now I'm going to plug it in. OB चाहिए मुझे, AB की value है minus 5 and 12. OB नहीं पता मुझे, I'll keep it as OB and OA is 3 minus 7. So that means minus 5, 12 plus 3 and minus 7 should give me OB. So OB is going to be minus 5 plus 3 that's minus 2 and 12 minus 7 that's 5. तो कर लिया. अच्छा, वो कहते हैं फाइंड ए बी और ये उसने दो लाइंस दी हुई हैं. देन दीज लाइंस मीन डिस्टेंस. सो देन यू हैव टू फाइंड द मॉड्यूलस और द डिस्टेंस ऑफ दिस. सो मॉड्यूलस का मतलब यहाँ पे मॉड्यूलस वो मैथ्स वाला एडवांस वाला मॉड्यूलस नहीं है. दिस मॉड सिंपली मीन्स द डिस्टेंस, द मैग्नीट्यूड. सो मैग्नीट्यूड इज ऑलवेज स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस वाई स्क्वायर, पाइथागोरस थ्योरम. सो यहाँ पे इसको अप्लाई कर देंगे. माइनस 5 स्क्वायर इज 25, 12 स्क्वायर इज 144, इसका स्क्वायर रूट लो, 169 का स्क्वायर रूट होता है 13, so the magnitude is 13. Okay, so that is one question on vector that I had. अच्छा, कोई और क्वेश्चन देखते हैं वेक्टर का. Hold on, let me look for a question, फिर मैं आपको बताता हूँ कि लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री कैसे निकालते हैं. अच्छा, अभी एक क्वेश्चन नहीं मिल रहा, बट लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री में आपको बता देता हूँ. लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री जो है ना, 2-3 तरीकों से निकल सकती है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इफ द शेप इज शेडेड और आपने देखना है कि ऑड बॉक्सेस हैं कि इवन बॉक्सेस हैं. अगर तो ऑड बॉक्सेस हैं देन द लाइन विल गो थ्रू वन ऑफ दोज बॉक्सेस. ठीक है, एटलीस्ट वन ऑफ दोज बॉक्सेस को वो हाफ करेगी अगर आपके पास ऑड नंबर ऑफ शेडेड रीजन है. सिमिलरली अगर आपके पास ऑड साइड्स है ना उसकी, तो फिर एक कॉर्नर को वो गुजरेगी, एक एंगल को वो हाफ करेगी. ठीक है, तो लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री फॉर ऑड साइडेड शेप्स इज basically going to be angle bisector of one angle. Similarly, for odd number of shaded boxes, it's going to be passing through a shaded box. अब अगर आपके पास even sides हैं, तो even sides का मतलब है कि वो दो sides को आधे आधे करेगी, वो उनके perpendicular bisector से गुजरेगी. दोनों sides opposite sides होंगी, उनके perpendicular bisector से गुजरेगी. अगर आपके पास इवन नंबर ऑफ शेडेड बॉक्सेस हैं तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि द बॉक्सेस ऑन ईदर साइड ऑफ द लाइन आर गोइंग टू बी इक्वल. तो वो ईदर साइड वाले सारे बॉक्सेस जो है ना वो इक्वल होंगे. हाँ, ये हो सकता है कि वो, और वो अगर गुजरेगी भी तो वो फिर इवन नंबर ऑफ बॉक्सेस के अंदर से गुजरेगी, ऑड नंबर ऑफ बॉक्सेस में से नहीं गुजरेगी. ठीक है, सो बस ये चीज़ ध्यान में रखनी है कि इफ़ द बॉक्सेस और द साइड्स आर इवन देन इट पासिस थ्रू इवन नंबर ऑफ साइड्स, इवन नंबर ऑफ boxes, and if it is odd number of boxes or odd number of sides then it passes through odd number of boxes and odd number of sides, या at least एक एंगल को वो बाइसेक्ट करेगी ऑड की शेप में. तो ऑड में वो एंगल को बाइसेक्ट करती है, इवन साइड्स में वो साइड्स को बाइसेक्ट करती है, ऑड बॉक्सेस में वो बॉक्स में से गुजरती है और इवन बॉक्सेस में से वो इक्वल साइड ऑफ बॉक्सेस में से गुजरती है. दैट्स हाउ यू फाइंड लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री. अगर ये क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं आया तो आई कैन गिव यू सम एग्जांपल्स. फॉर एग्जांपल ये मेरे पास एक ग्रिड है. सो लेट मी मेक अ ग्रिड हियर. हाउ डू यू मेक अ ग्रिड हियर? या, सो आई हैव अ ग्रिड हियर एंड लेट्स सपोज इस ग्रिड में मेरे पास ये 5x5 ग्रिड बना लेते हैं. सो 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so I have this grid, and in this grid what I've done is I've shaded this, 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 and I've shaded these. Okay, now they're saying find the line of symmetry. So line of symmetry बल्कि इस तरह शेड करने से बेहतर है that I actually shade them ताकि बात clear रहे. So let's say this is shaded, this is shaded, this was shaded, and what was else? Yep, these two were shaded. And they're saying find the line of symmetry. Now I have 5 boxes that are shaded, right? So that means my line of symmetry is going to pass through one box or odd number of box. ठीक है? So एक अकेला बॉक्स ये वाला बैठा हुआ है तो लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री इसमें से गुजरेगी और उसको हाफ करेगी बिकॉज आई हैड ऑड नंबर ऑफ बॉक्सेस. ठीक है. अच्छा, अगर मेरे पास इवन नंबर ऑफ बॉक्सेस होते तो उसका मतलब ये होता कि वो इवन नंबर ऑफ बॉक्सेस में से गुजरेगी या वो उसके दोनों साइड्स वाले जो बॉक्सेस होंगे ना वो इक्वल होंगे. ठीक है, इसको याद कर लो कि उसके साइड वाले बॉक्सेस इक्वल होंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर यही मैं इसको देखता हूँ और मैं कहता हूँ कि अच्छा यहाँ पर ये बॉक्स भी शेड है तो इसका मतलब है जो भी लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री होगी ना उसके साइड्स पे जो बॉक्सेस होंगे वो इक्वल होंगे. सो यहाँ पे भी वही लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री बनती है. और किस तरह से कि मेरे पास एक ये बॉक्स है 1 2 ये दोनों इक्वल नंबर हैं ऑन साइड्स और ये 3 4 ये भी इक्वल नंबर. सो दोनों साइड्स पे दो दो बॉक्सेस हैं. दैट शोज दैट दिस इज actually the line of symmetry that you need. Acha. Then similarly if I have an odd number of sides, for example मेरे पास ऐसे करके एक पेंटागन आ जाती है और मुझे कहता है कि इसकी लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री निकाल के दो. सो मुझे ये पता है कि बिकॉज इट इज़ ऑड नंबर ऑफ साइड सो मेरी लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री किसी एंगल को बाइसेक्ट करेगी. सो ये एंगल ये वाला एंगल है ना इसको बाइसेक्ट कर लेते हैं. सो इसका एंगल बाइसेक्टर बनाऊंगा ये बन गया. अभी इस चूँकि रेगुलर फिगर है तो इसके सारे एंगल बाइसेक्ट सारे एंगल्स को वो बाइसेक्ट करेगी. लेकिन अगर ये रेगुलर ना भी होती ना फॉर एग्जांपल अगर वो हमें कहता कि ये ऐसे करके है और वो कहता है कि अच्छा भाई फॉर सम रीज़न दिस साइड इज इक्वल टू दिस साइड, दिस साइड इज इक्वल टू दिस साइड एंड दिस साइड इज इक्वल टू दिस साइड. तो ये 6 साइड्स हैं तो मुझे पता होता कि भाई ये इनमें से गुजरेगी. ठीक है, क्योंकि इसके इक्वल नंबर ऑफ साइड्स दोनों साइड्स पे इक्वल नंबर है साइड्स का. ठीक है, एक ये ऑप्शन है. दूसरी ऑप्शन ये है कि मेरे पास जो एंगल्स हैं अब ये क्या बात हुई ये इवन नंबर ऑफ साइड्स है फिर भी इसने एंगल क्यों बाइसेक्ट किया. बिकॉज इफ़ यू नोटिस देन हाउ मेनी एंगल्स डू आई हैव इक्वल टू ईच अदर. आई हैव 1 एंगल 2 एंगल दिस एंगल इज इक्वल टू दिस एंगल इज इक्वल टू दिस and this angle had no equal, this angle had no equal. So मेरे पास एंगल पेयर्स कितने थे जो इक्वल थे? सिर्फ 2. तो बाकी वालों के बीच में से हाफ करना है क्योंकि मेरे पास एक ऐसा एंगल है जिसका कोई सिमिलर है ही नहीं. लेकिन अगर मेरे पास एंगल्स के पेयर्स बन रहे होते ना सारे एंगल्स के पेयर्स बन रहे होते देन इट वुड पास थ्रू द साइड. तो लाइन ऑफ सिमेट्री में ये बातें जिनमें होती हैं. रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या होती है? रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी इज़ बेसिकली कि आपका कोई भी कॉन्टेक्स्ट है उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जो रेलेवेंट नंबर ऑफ पीपल रेलेवेंट नंबर ऑफ वैल्यूज़ डिवाइडेड बाय द टोटल. और एक चीज़ ध्यान रखना रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी को आपने सिंप्लीफाई नहीं करना. कीप इट द वे इट इज़. सो फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स सपोज वी हैड किसी पोल्ट्री फार्म में जाते हैं वी हैड 200 एनिमल्स देयर और उनमें से 30 वर एग लेइंग हैंस. सो अब एग लेइंग हैंस की रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या है? देयर इज 30 ऑफ देम out of 200 animals, so that is 30 over 200 and that's it. Just leave it as it is. ये आपका आंसर है. Anything else you would like to ask? Let me check the okay. Burhan's question is that you have this circle. Okay, so you have a circle. There's A, C, D. I'm not sure if Burhan is here. Hold on. Burhan, are you here? Okay, Burhan is coming. Just a minute. Any other question? Can you solve inversely proportional sums? What do you mean inversely proportional sums? Send me a picture of that question. पढ़ लेते हैं, व्हाट्सएप कर लो. फसिया इज सेइंग बेरिंग समझा दें. बेरिंग में आपने सिर्फ ये ज़हन में रखना होता है कि आपका एंगल नॉर्थ से स्टार्ट होना चाहिए और क्लॉकवाइज जाना चाहिए और 3 डिजिट्स में बताना है. बाकी अगर कोई, ये उसका कॉन्सेप्ट है, लेकिन ऑब्वियसली क्वेश्चन इस तरह तो नहीं सॉल्व होते. तो आपका कोई भी क्वेश्चन है ना बेरिंग का जो नहीं आ रहा, मुझे भेजो, अभी कर लेते हैं. Okay, Rida has sent this question. Let's see. Okay, so the question is, why is it not typing? Yeah, 2x squared minus 5x plus a over x squared minus 16 can be simplified to 2x plus b over x plus 4. Okay, so because it can be simplified to this, that means they're equal to each other. Okay, so now let me simplify this. अब इसको करने के 2-3 तरीके हैं. I'll show you the easiest one. So this is going to be 2x plus a over x squared minus 16 is x plus 4 x minus 4. And this is equal to 2x plus b over x plus 4. So this cancels out because it's on both sides. Denominator, we can cancel it out. And now you can just multiply both sides. Just bring this to this side. And that gives me 2x plus b multiplied with x minus 4. Okay, 2x squared minus 5x plus a is equal to, now I'm multiplying it, 2x squared minus 8x plus bx minus 4b. And you can even simplify this, that just take x as common, so that leaves me with minus 8 plus b minus 4b. Okay, now let's compare both sides. This is 2, this is 2 with x squared. Okay, with just x I have minus 5 here and minus 8 plus b here. Let's put them equal. So minus 5 is equal to minus 8 plus b, so b is equal to minus 5 plus 8, which means 3 is equal to b. Okay, so that's one option. Similarly, on the other side I have the number without x is a, and on this side the number without x is minus 4b. So that means a is equal to minus 4b. I already know that b is 3, so a is equal to minus 4 times 3, which is minus 12. And there you go, we solved it. You understand it, Rida? Okay. I have a couple of other questions here. I'm sorry न्याजी, बट अभी मैं मैथ्स को कर रहा हूँ. मैं इसका आपको कंप्यूटर साइंस वाला देख के बता दूंगा बाद में. Okay, I have another question here. Is Burhan here? Burhan, if you're here, let me know. Okay, Burhan, are you here? Okay, until Burhan comes, I have another question. I think Umar has sent it. The question says y is in, I'll copy the question. So this is the question. y is inversely proportional. Y is inversely proportional to the square of x. Okay, so we have an equation. Let me convert it. Y equals to k over x squared. Okay, now given that y is 10 when x is 3. Okay, so that's one pair of values. So 10 is equal to x is 3. So that gives me k over 9 is equal to 10. So that means k is equal to 90. I know what k is. So now my equation becomes y equals to 90 over x squared. Find y when x is half. Okay, no problem. 90 over half squared. यहाँ पर प्रॉब्लम आती है बिकॉज मैनी स्टूडेंट्स थिंक कि अच्छा हाफ को स्क्वायर करना है या नहीं करना, या हाफ लिख देना है, इस तरह कुछ कोई कन्फ्यूजन हो जाती है. तो 90 ओवर हाफ का स्क्वायर होगा 1/4. सो हाउ डू यू सॉल्व डबल फ्रैक्शंस? डबल फ्रैक्शंस को सॉल्व करने के लिए व्हाट यू हैव टू नो इज कि अगर आपके पास एक फ्रैक्शन है ना a ओवर b और उसके नीचे एक फ्रैक्शन है c ओवर d, तो आपके 2c आएंगे. ग्रेड की बात नहीं कर रहा, यहाँ पे 2c आएंगे. Dealing with double fractions is this: you multiply these numbers. ठीक है? So 2c's. So let me rewrite this. Double fraction कैसे है? This is 90 over 1 divided by 1/4. ठीक है? So 2c लगाते हैं. 1 times 1, 90 times 4. What is 90 times 4? 360. And 1 over 1 is 1. So the answer is 360. ठीक है. बुरहान भाई सवाल समझना है तो आ जाओ. किधर हो? ओके, हारून है सेंटर क्वेश्चन. लेट मी सी. Haroon's question. Haroon, which part do you want to understand? Or I'll solve the whole question just in case. So Haroon's question is that, अच्छा सवाल है ये. So this is the first part. The coordinates of midpoints of line AB are 1, 2. So there is some line AB and the midpoint is 1, 2. Length is 10 units. Okay. If the gradient is 0, find the coordinates of AB. So gradient 0 का मतलब है कि आपके पास ये जो लाइन है ना, ये बिल्कुल ऐसे फ्लैट है. ठीक है? और 1, 2 उसका मिड पॉइंट है. तो अब जब फ्लैट लाइन होगी तो उसका y तो चेंज होगा ही नहीं. तो टोटल लेंथ है 10, तो 5 राइट को 5 लेफ्ट को, तो y चेंज नहीं होना, तो इस पॉइंट का भी y2 होगा, इसका भी y2 होगा. और x क्या होगा? 1 + 5 6 and 1 - 5 - 4. That is the answer to this. Now the question is, if the gradient, the next question is, if the gradient of AB is 3/4, find the coordinates of A and B. ठीक है. अच्छा, 3/4 is very interesting because gradient होता क्या है? Gradient is change in y over change in x. तो इसका मतलब है 3/4 का मतलब है कि वो 3 स्टेप्स ऊपर जा रहा है और 4 स्टेप्स राइट को आ रहा है. अच्छा, अब ज़रा एक बात बताओ, दैट्स द ग्रेडियंट राइट. पाइथागोरियन ट्रिपल्स याद है? मैंने क्लास में करवाए थे. पाइथागोरियन ट्रिपल्स आर नंबर्स दैट फिट अ पाइथागोरस थ्योरम. सो इफ दिस इज 3, दैट इज 4. व्हाट इज द लेंथ ऑफ हाइपोटेन्यूज? क्विकली गो ऑन. 5. इज दैट बुरहान? डेली हेस्ट. अच्छा, बुरहान है. ठीक है. सो 3, 4, 5. तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि अगर मेरा मिड पॉइंट इज 1, 2, देन 3, 4 का ग्रेडियंट ऊपर को, 3, 4 का ग्रेडियंट नीचे को कर लेंगे. तो 3 इन y ऐड करो और 4 इन x ऐड करो. सो ये बन जाता है 5 and 5. और इस साइड को क्या बनेगा? माइनस कर लो. सो 1 - 4 - 3 and 2 - 3 - 1. हो गया पॉइंट. Get it? Okay. Haroon, समझ आया? Okay. Now where is Burhan's question? गुम हो गया कहीं पे. Yep, found this question. So the question is this: there is a circle and there are 2 points on the circle. They make a chord. Okay, this chord is then connected to the center. Is it center? I'm not sure. Burhan, is that the center or not? Harun, the hypotenuse would be 5 because 3 square plus 4 square is 9 plus 16. उनका square root लोगे तो square root of 25 is 5. Pythagoras theorem लगाया मैंने. Burhan, is A the center? Okay, it is. Okay. Then what we have is AB. This is B. This is 6. And CB is equal to BD. CB is equal to BD. ठीक है. Calculate CD. Oh, radius is 10. तो क्या मसला है भाई? Now remember, because the radius is 10 and A is center, let me join A with C. So this is 10. So let me find this now. Now remember, first circle theorem क्या था? That if a line from center bisects a chord, मतलब वो chord के दो हिस्से कर दे, then that line is perpendicular. That was a circle property. So we have a right angle triangle. Now if this is 6, that is 10, Pythagoras theorem लगाओगे ये 8 आ जाएगा. Now if this is 8, this is also 8, CD is 16. ये बहुत आसान था. Okay, I have gotten another question. Oh, number theory. I love this. Thank you to whoever sent this question. At least there's one question I'll enjoy solving. Okay. So what do we have here? P is 2n plus 2 times 3n plus 5 times 5. Okay. Q is this other number where n is a positive integer. The lowest common of P and Q is this. What? Oh, अच्छा ठीक है. Express R is the product of prime factors. अब उसके लिए we need to know, we'll go back and we will read about what we studied is LCM and HCF. Let's go back. हमने शुरू में एक बात की थी LCM और HCF के ऊपर. ये what is LCM? Guys, pay attention. LCM is highest power of all numbers. So जितने numbers आप देख रहे हो उनके प्राइम फैक्टर्स निकालो, उनकी जो हाईएस्ट पावर्स है ना वो एलसीएम में आएंगी. एंड लोएस्ट पावर ऑफ कॉमन नंबर्स, जितने उनमें कॉमन नंबर्स होंगे, कॉमन फैक्टर्स होंगे, दोज आर पार्ट ऑफ एचसीएफ. सो पे अटेंशन अगेन. एलसीएम हैज हाईएस्ट पावर ऑफ ऑल फैक्टर्स एंड एचसीएफ हैज लोएस्ट पावर ऑफ कॉमन फैक्टर्स. ये होता है प्राइम फैक्टराइजेशन से एलसीएम और एचसीएफ निकालना. अब ज़रा वापस क्वेश्चन पे जाते हैं. Yep, this one. So they're saying the LCM is this. जो भी है LCM, हमें P और Q का LCM निकालना है. और LCM क्या होता है? Highest power of all factors. So जरा देखते हैं. एक फैक्टर 2 है. 2 की highest power देखो जरा. This power is n plus 2, that power is n. Obviously n plus 2 is bigger, so n plus 2 is going to be in the LCM because LCM has to have the highest power. Then the other number is 3. What is the higher power of 3? एक साइड पे n है, एक साइड पे n plus 1 है. n plus 1 is the higher one, so n plus 1 is going to be there. The third number is 5. 5 की highest power क्या है? 2. Okay. अब ज़रा इसको simplify करते हैं. 2 power n plus 2 को I can write as 2 power n multiplied by 2 power 2. Right? Because that's how powers add, numbers multiply होते हैं. 3 power n times 3 power 1 times 5 squared. अब ज़रा देखो ये क्या बना. 2 power n multiplied by 3 power n multiplied by what? 4 times 3 12. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 times 5 is 300. Is it? हाँ, तो there you go. Now this is 300. लेकिन हमें निकालने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. We just need to write it. So it is 2 squared times 3 times 5 squared. And that is my number R. Then they're saying express p plus q as a product of its prime number. So what is p plus q? Let's do it. 2 power n plus 2 multiplied by 3 power n multiplied by 5 plus 2 power n multiplied by 3 power n plus 1 multiplied by 5 squared. Now we don't know the number, so हमें लगता है कि ये तो मुझसे होना नहीं है. But that's not really a problem because all we need is just simplify this. So this is 2 power 2 multiplied by 2 power n, that is 3 power n, that is 5, and this number is 2 power n multiplied by 3 power 1 times 3 power n times 5 squared. Okay, now let's take common. 2 power n is common, 3 power n is common. What is left? अंदर रह गया 4 times 5 20 plus 3 times 25 75. So this is 95. अच्छा नहीं, प्राइम फैक्टर्स के तौर पे शो कराना है ना. So 95. What are the factors of 95? So 95 times 2 power n times 3 power n. 95 factors कर लेते हैं. I think is 5 times 19 times 2 power n times 3 power n. And there you go. That's our final answer. Do you understand this? Any other questions? Wow, 8 questions. Okay, let's see. यार क्वेश्चन सीधा करके भेज दिया करें, टेढ़ी पिक्चर्स लेते हैं. Okay, so here we have a question. This is completing the square. Let's solve it. Okay, so the first part is x squared plus 10x plus 6. Okay, and we have to simplify this, so no problem. What you have to do is, you know that this is a completed square form. So completing the square form में ना हमारे पास बड़े simple से 3 steps हैं, and if you understand those 3 steps, you should be able to get the answer. First step, make sure x square is multiplied with 1. अगर वो 1 से multiply नहीं होता ना, take that number as common. मतलब यहाँ पे अगर 2 होता, मतलब if this was 2, यहाँ पर I'll take up another number. This should be, हाँ, take 2, तो 2 कॉमन ले लेना. अगर 2 होता तो 2 पूरे में से कॉमन ले लेना, लेकिन यहाँ पे तो 2 नहीं है, तो we'll just leave it as that. That's first step. Second step, नंबर इन द मिडल उसको हाफ करो, 5 आ जाएगा. नंबर इन द मिडल इज 10, 10 डिवाइड बाई 2, हाफ 5. Add the square of 5, subtract the square of 5. ठीक है, add the square of 5, subtract the square of 5. You don't need to actually solve it, just leave it as that. And this thing, what is this? A square plus 2ab plus b square. So what is a square plus 2ab plus b squared? It is a plus b whole squared. And that's what we'll do. What is a? X. What is b? 5. So a plus b whole squared minus 25 plus 6, and x plus 5 whole squared minus 19 is your answer. अच्छा, sometimes students get confused कि ये क्या हो रहा है, मुझसे नहीं हो रहा. So there is a very easy another way of solving this. आपने ये करना है, पहला स्टेप कर लिया ना, एक्स स्क्वायर के साथ वाले नंबर को कॉमन ले लिया. देन व्हाट यू डू इज डिवाइड द मिडिल नंबर, कर लिया, 5 आ गया. एक्स प्लस 5 होल स्क्वायर लिख देना हमेशा. जो भी नंबर आएगा x प्लस दैट होल स्क्वायर लिख दिया, माइनस उस नंबर का स्क्वायर, एंड देयर यू गो, हो गया क्वेश्चन, डायरेक्ट हो जाएगा. तो x प्लस 5 होल स्क्वायर माइनस 19, आंसर आ गया. एंड दैट्स हाउ यू डू कंप्लीटिंग द स्क्वायर. क्या हो गया, ये लिख क्यों नहीं रहा? आई थिंक बैटरी लो हो गई है. एनीवेज, यूजिंग आंसर टू पार्ट है सॉल्व एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस 10x+6। हमें पता है कि वो क्या है। एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस 10x को अभी हमने लिखा है x+5 होल स्क्वायर माइनस 19 and I'll put it equal to 0. So how difficult is it to solve this equation? Not at all. This becomes 19, square root लेंगे both sides पे, and whenever you take square root on both sides you do plus and minus both. So x plus 5 is equal to plus and minus square root 19. So x equals to minus 5 plus square root 19 and x equals to minus 5 minus square root 19. Hold on, I'm getting a call. Just a minute. G. So we did this question, so we have solved it. They asked us to give it in plus and minus form, so minus 5 plus minus square root 19 कर सकते हैं, and that will give you the answer. Okay. Something's wrong with my internet apparently. Hold on, let me check. नहीं ठीक है. Guys, are you able to clearly see it? या buffering हो रही है? ठीक है, it's working now. Alright, anything else that you want to use? Are we using some identity here? Where are we using the identity? Sorry Abdullah, मुझे explain कर दो. Abiha वालेकुम अस्सलाम. Ali Hussain is saying yes. Yes to what? Yes के कल मैथ का पेपर है. Yes. Okay. Do we have any other question? We don't have any other question. वैसे मेरी एडवाइस ये है कि अब पढ़ना बंद कर दो. सुबह पेपर है, यू नीड टू स्लीप एंड यू नीड टू बी वेल रेस्टेड. मैथ्स जैसे सब्जेक्ट में इफ़ यू आर नॉट वेल रेस्टेड, दिमाग अगर सो रहा है तो जो मर्ज़ी कर लो, नहीं होगा. आई टेल यू अ स्टोरी कि मैंने क्या किया यूनिवर्सिटी में एक दफ़ा. सो मैथ्स में देयर इज़ अ ब्रांच ऑफ मैथमेटिक्स विच डील्स विद एनालिसिस, ठीक है, और उसमें एक छोटा सा पोर्शन है कैलकुलस. छोटा सा तो नहीं, काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. सो आई वॉज स्टडिंग कैलकुलस. मेरा कैलकुलस का एग्ज़ाम था और मुझे बड़ा एक तरह से ना आई हैड अ लॉट ऑफ प्राइड के मैथ्स में तो मुझे मसला ही कोई नहीं होना चाहिए और मैथ्स तो मुझे आता है. ऑलराइट, सो आई हैड दैट आइडिया कि मैथ्स तो मुझे आता है और अगर मुझसे नहीं हो रहा तो ये तो मेरी इज़्ज़त बेइज्जती का मामला हो गया. सो आई वॉज इन माई सेकेंड ईयर ऑफ यूनिवर्सिटी. तो मैं अब पेपर से तकरीबन ना 6 दिन पहले मैंने कैलकुलस की बुक निकाली एंड इट वाज कैलकुलस 2 एंड दैट बुक वाज लाइक 1200 पेजेस. तो मैंने कहा कि मैं आई जस्ट क्विकली गो ओवर द एक्सरसाइजेज और मुझसे हो जाएगी, मसला ही कोई नहीं है. तो व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड सॉल्विंग इट टर्न्स आउट कि मुझे कुछ याद नहीं था और आई पैनिक्ड. आई वाज लाइक ये क्या सीन है, मुझसे तो क्वेश्चन नहीं हो रहे. सो आई चैलेंज माई सेल्फ कि मैं आगे 3-4 दिन हैं तो आई विल सॉल्व द होल बुक, ठीक है। सो आई वेंट टू द लाइब्रेरी, लम्स की लाइब्रेरी 24 घंटे खुली होती है जब एग्ज़ाम करीब होते हैं। सो आई स्टार्टेड सॉल्विंग दैट बुक, और रेड बुल में ले गया, और जहाँ मुझे नींद ज़्यादा आती थी मैं रेड बुल पी लेता था कि मैं तो जाग रहा हूँ, या मैं कॉफ़ी पी लेता था, जाके ब्लैक कॉफ़ी पी लेता था। अब हुआ क्या कि 2-3 दिन मैंने लगातार बैठ के लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ा। मैं ऑब्वियसली बिल्कुल ही जागा नहीं, लेकिन उसमें थोड़ा सोया, ज़्यादातर कैफ़ीन और रेड बुल और कॉफ़ी पे गुजारा कर रहा हूँ, और सो बहुत कम रहा हूँ, 3 घंटे 4 घंटे, और बाकी सारा टाइम बैठ के लाइब्रेरी में काम कर रहा हूँ। मैं एग्ज़ाम देने गया एंड आई वाज लाइक कि किताब तो मैंने अब कर ली है तो मेरे लिए अब प्रॉब्लम नहीं होनी चाहिए। And I kid you not, I was looking at the exam. I knew कि ये मुझे आता है, मेरे से हो नहीं रहा, मुझसे हो ही नहीं रहा। मतलब माई माइंड इज कम्प्लीटली असलीप। मैं देख रहा हूँ क्वेश्चन, मुझे पता है कि इस तरह के क्वेश्चन मैंने किए हुए हैं और ये मेरे लिए मुश्किल नहीं है, बट आई हैव नो आइडिया कि मैं स्टार्ट कहाँ से करूँ। क्यों? माई ब्रेन वॉज असलीप, I was not well rested, and that is when I learned कि it's very important. Of course, then I went to the bathroom, मुँह शो थोड़ा सा धोया, वापस आया, बैठ के कुछ ना कुछ किया, पास कर लिया। लेकिन वो दुख है कि टाइमली मैनेज कर लेता तो बेहतर हो सकता था। खैर, दुख ऐसा नहीं है, क्या ही फ़र्क पड़ता है। थिंग इज़ कि वो चीज़ें आनी चाहिए, वो आती हैं, और जब ज़रूरत पड़े तो वो काम आनी चाहिए, या एटलीस्ट नया भी आती हूँ, एटलीस्ट उनको देख के रिवाइज़ करके बंदे को आ जानी चाहिए। दैट्स द होल पॉइंट ऑफ स्टडिंग। अदरवाइज ये ग्रेड्स वगैरह तो आते जाते रहते हैं, बट या आपके हाथ में यही है कि कोशिश करो, मेहनत करो, और अभी सो जाओ। या दैट्स द पॉइंट, सो जाओ, यू नीड टू रेस्ट। ओके, या सो ऑल द बेस्ट फॉर टुमारो। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग। टेक केयर। अल्लाह हाफिज़।